Hello, everybody. Here we are. I've been looking forward to this moment for quite a while now, so it's quite surreal that I'm actually here. I'm just going to wait just a few moments before I get into what I want to talk to you about tonight. So please, can you give me some thumbs up if you can hear me, if you can see me okay? It'd be nice to know that there's some people there with me. Make sure you've got a drink. You can have a cup of tea, a glass of wine, you might want a beer. Feel free to grab any of those things. And as I said, if you can just give me some thumbs up, say hello, let me know that you're here, that you can see me, that you can hear me before I get into what I want to talk about tonight. Hello, everybody. What a weird environment this is. I shouldn't say weird, it's just an unusual environment. So feel free to give me some thumbs up. If anyone's there, please give me some thumbs up just so I know that people can hear me, people can see me. Feel free to leave me a comment. Okay, I'm going to get started. Thanks so much for having me here in your homes or wherever you're watching this, to be honest. Right now, that could be anywhere, but probably it's in your home. So thank you so much for having me in your home this evening. I'm extremely grateful to Happiness Aid for having me. It's such an amazing initiative to be a part of right now. I think the joy of happiness is something that we are all looking for and seeking more so now than ever before. If you haven't already done so, obviously sign up to the Happiness Aid Facebook page, check out the Happiness Co website. So as I said, I just want to I'll just want to keep waiting. Please, if you can just message me, just so I know that people can hear me and that I'm clear. It'd be great to know whether that's the case. I want to just give a special shout out right now to I'm based in Melbourne, and just the other day I was driving in my local suburb or the suburb next door to me, and who should I see but someone wearing a a Happiness Co hoodie. I was driving along and I'm like, oh, Happiness Co. So it was so good to see that, and probably it would have been, oh, hi Robin, thank you so much. It's so good to know that someone's there and that you can hear me. So yeah, so a shout out to whoever that was in Melbourne, Victoria, that was walking around with a Happiness Co. If you're watching or listening at some stage, it was great to see you. So I'm here tonight to talk about what matters most. I am a leadership coach, leadership mentor, and a learning consultant, and I'm absolutely passionate about leadership. Tonight, I want to look at self-leadership. Hi, Andrea. So great to see you. Thank you. Great, Robin. Thank you. I kept saying, can someone hear me? Can someone see me? So thank you, Robin, for confirming that. So tonight, if you just see me looking over, it's just I'm looking over at my notes. I just want to make sure that I don't miss anything tonight. So I've watched many of the other presentations that have been up on Happiness Aid, and I've taken away lots of messages from those presentations, and I'm hoping tonight that you might be able to do the same. As I'm talking through my presentation, if you want to ask me a question or write a comment, feel free. I'll try and answer them and read them as I'm going through, but if I happen to miss something, I'll definitely go back through everyone's comments after the presentation. Please give me interact as much as you can. To be honest, this is the first time I've ever done a Facebook Live presentation. Normally in my work, I'm face-to-face, and I love the face-to-face interactions. So being in this environment is really quite unusual. Looking at myself and not being able to have the interaction with people is just a weird feeling, actually. But if I know one thing, it's in growing your resilience. One part of that is keeping up. Oh, hi, Effie. Is learning new things. And so for me, being on Facebook and learning how to do this Facebook Live is something definitely new. Okay, so let's get into it. Tonight, I'm here to talk about what matters most. And that's a really big question, to be honest. And there's not really a simple answer to that. However, I'm here to take you through three aspects, three questions that I think that have really worked for me in understanding what matters most for me, and about how yes, definitely Robin, exciting first live video. So yeah, this questioning around what matters most has definitely helped me. And as we go through, I'll share those sorts of things with you. It's a big question, what matters most, and probably mostly because it's different for everyone. I can sit here and tell you what matters most for me, and you'll go, I don't care, Sharon, doesn't matter to me. And that's probably the most exciting thing, is that you really need to stop and understand what matters most for you. And really you need to be living that, if that's what matters most to you. Often people, when I say to people what matters most to you, people will say obviously their family, their friends, their health, their career, and so on. And all of those things are important. Don't get me wrong, all of those things are important. What I want to do is zoom in a little closer to what those things actually mean day to day. Rather than feeling that we need to get caught up in what matters most for now, for the whole of my life, for the rest of my life, I want us to concentrate and zoom in a little bit on what matters most every single day. And as we talk about that, then I also want to talk about some ways that, hey Freya, great to see you. I want to talk about some examples of how I put these things into practice and hopefully give you some ideas or give you some prompts. And I also want to say at this stage that there's no right or wrong answer here. And I also want to say that maybe you might get to the end of this presentation and say, actually, yeah, I'm doing all these things now. You know, I'm asking myself these questions now. And do you know what? That's fantastic. If nothing else, if this presentation just confirms the things that you're doing, then that's fantastic. Keep doing them. So the chances of answering what matters most in one conversation, in one reflection, if you like, is not going to happen. It's going to take time. Okay, and that's why the three other questions I'm going to give you tonight, I think, are really going to be helpful. Hi, Michelle, so good to see you. Thanks for joining in. So picking up on a phrase that Julian shared in a presentation he made the other day was, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And I just, it really resonated with me at the time. And when I watched it and I heard it, I thought it really connects well to what I want to talk about tonight. So thanks, Julian. Tonight is about looking at where you focus your energy, where you focus, and how that impacts your energy levels. Okay. So I've started by saying what matters most. And as I get to the end of the presentation, I'm going to ask you that again, what matters most. Okay. And as I said, you might identify some things that you might go, okay, yep, maybe I'll look at things a little bit differently. Or you might say, yep, I'm doing all of these things already. That's fantastic. Okay. Take away from this presentation whatever you like. It may, just sitting down here tonight, perhaps listening to me might be something different. That's fantastic. I think I've already said it, but I'll say it again. Importantly, there's no right or wrong answers, okay? At the moment, there's so much uncertainty. You know, we don't know day to day, in some ways, what's going to happen next. So this is just a safe space for you to explore what matters most for you. So the first question I'm going to put to you is, what's the most important time? Think about that. What's the most important time? Now, maybe when we finally get to leave our houses, that will be the most important time. Or maybe the most important time is what we had a few weeks ago before coronavirus kicked in. Maybe that was the most important time. I'm here to say that the most important time is actually right here and now. It's not yesterday, because we've been in yesterday, and it's not tomorrow or next week or next month. It's actually right now, today, the present. I think it's really important to question what's the most important time. I'm sure many of you would have heard, you know, this thinking about being in the moment and being fully present. And that's what this question, what's the most important time, is all about. Let me share a little bit of, hi Molly Malone, so great to see you. Absolutely, Robin, it's right here and now. So a little bit of a story that perhaps helps explain how I use this questioning, what's the most important time, is a few weeks ago when this coronavirus really took off. Thanks, Katrina. Yep, agree. Now is the most important, this moment. When the coronavirus kicked in, gee, it seems like a long time ago now, but when it kicked in, I got a bit stressed. I got quite a bit stressed, and I guess the best way I could put it was I was a bit wobbly. Hey, Carol, so good to see you. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I was a bit wobbly. My work was being cancelled. Restrictions about who I could see, when I could see them, where I could see people, you know, were in place. And I was like, hang on a minute, these are my plans. And, you know, they were being ripped out from under my feet. And I was pretty stressed about it. I'm a planner. I like to know what I'm doing. I like to know where I'm going, how it's happening, what I need to do. And so to know that all of that was changing was pretty scary. And so I definitely wobbled for a few days. I shared with someone that the doors of my positivity probably did close for a few days because I was angry and I was frustrated. And then I can't actually remember. Absolutely, Katrina, forget yesterday. It's today. And tomorrow take care of itself. Let tomorrow take care of itself, correct. I came back to what I could do. And the only thing I could really do was look at today and go, what do I need to do? What needs to happen today? How can I plan for today? That's all I needed to worry about. There was no point looking back to yesterday and all the work I had planned for yesterday, and there was no point looking at the future because the future was changing and I had no control over it. So I came back to, okay, what can I do today? And that's where what's the most important time really kicked in for me. The most important time was today. And so it really was about setting myself some goals for the day. And quite frankly, early on, those goals weren't probably too big. Let's take the dog for a walk, maybe once, maybe twice a day. But it was about, I needed to have some goals. I needed to have some plans for the day. And sometimes part of those plans were to simply be kind to myself and not beat myself up, that I was frustrated that my plans had changed and I was frustrated that I didn't know what my plans were going to be. So it's not to say that I'm now not looking to the future. It's not to say that at all. But what it does is by questioning what's the most important time and saying to myself, right now is the most important time, it keeps me really grounded. Keeps me really grounded and stops my head going off and wandering and worrying. It just keeps me grounded right here and right now. When when we choose to accept that now is the most important time, I actually think it's quite freeing. And what I mean by that is it allows us to go, okay, right now is the most important time, so I can actually just focus on the right now. It's actually quite freeing. So as I say to you, how does it make you feel when I say to you, yeah, definitely lucky dog. She's a very spoiled dog and a very lucky dog, definitely, Katrina. When we think to ourselves, what's the most important time? It's right here, right now. I guess it takes away, or it lessens the burden of what's tomorrow going to look like. Or, gee, why can't I go back to what yesterday looked like or last week looked like when, life was continuing on as normal, as what we understood as normal. I get that you might be thinking, yeah, well, Sharon, that's great, but right now life's pretty mundane. I get it, okay? Seeing the same people day in, day out, which is probably your family members, and doing the same thing can be pretty mundane. I get it. But when we choose to accept that right now is the most important time, it allows us just to completely focus on the right here, right now. And if we go back to that phrase I said, where we focus, our energy flows, just think about that. If all of a sudden I'm saying, okay, where we focus right in here, right now, that's where our energy goes. I think that is quite exciting. It's also interesting that when we focus on the right here, right now, we're actually more productive. We're probably more effective with our time. And ultimately, we're more satisfied. And all of this can lead to feeling more happy. More happy because we're free. We've taken away that worry about yesterday or tomorrow. Oh, that's great. Totally agree. Thanks, Andrea. So right now, what's the most important, the thing in our time, keeping up with remote learning. If you've got kids that are at home, I'm in Victoria, so our kids are home at this stage for the rest of the term. Managing your own priorities if you're working from home, perhaps with kids that are also at home. It can be really hard to say, okay, right here, right now is the most important time, but this is where we need to be focused. If we're working from home, that's what we need to be focused on. If the kids are doing remote learning from home, that's where we need to be focused. And I'll delve into this in a little bit more in a moment. It was really interesting. I read an article just yesterday, and the article was entitled, "Are We There Yet?" And it was obviously relating to COVID-19. And some points that I took from that article was, we need to stop looking at the clock. And that really resonated with me in terms of right now, here, right now is the most important time. Because we're not looking at the clock going, again, let's go back to yesterday, or let's look at the clock for tomorrow. We're just concentrating on the right here, right now. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Isn't that relevant as well, in that we might be thinking, okay, right now, in this moment of time, I want everything to be perfect. How can I plan for it to be perfect? Well, actually, probably it can't, but we just need to concentrate on progress. That, hey, look, I'm still working, I'm still doing things, I'm still setting some goals. You're not the only one. And I think that's really freeing in itself, in that everyone, to an extent, is feeling the same sorts of pressure at the moment. We all want to know when things are going to, go back to normal, when these restrictions are going to be lifted. And I think this point in this article was really interesting. It's a lesson for life on ambiguity. And I'm not a lover of ambiguity. I like things pretty much crystal clear. So this is a real life lesson for me going through our current situation. So let's look at my second question for you. So the first question was, what was the most important time? This question is, who is the most important person? Who is the most important person? Now, chances are you might be sitting there going, Of course, I'm the most important person. And to a degree, that is actually true. Okay? The most important person is yourself if you are by yourself. And I don't say that, I'm not suggesting this is a selfish act. Simply, if you're by yourself, then you are the most important person. Agree, Katrina. Perfection is the enemy of progress. Absolutely. If you are with someone else, then you and the other person are the most important people. So the question I said to you was, who is the most important person? The most important person is you. And if you're with someone else, both of you are the most important people. Let me share another story with you, which explains what I'm trying to get to. When my daughter was, for those of you who know me, when my daughter was a toddler and she's now 15, I would come home from work and she would want to play. You know, she might not have seen me all day and she'd want to play. She'd want to play, you know, with me, and she'd want to play with her teddy bears, or she'd want to play with her Lego. She'd want to play. And quite frankly, it was the last thing I wanted to be doing. And even today, I feel really bad in even saying that. But it was the last thing I wanted to do. I wanted to come home from work and I wanted to, you know, take my time, do what I wanted to do. And then one day I thought to myself, what would it mean if I allowed myself to go, you know, to actually sit with her and play, and allow that both her and myself in those moments were the most important people. And it took a while, but it really started to click in that when I actually focused my energy on actually being with her and allowing her to feel like the most important person as well as myself, we actually got so much more out of that period of time. When I chose to sit and play with her, it allowed myself to enjoy it. She actually enjoyed it more because I was fully present with her. And even as a toddler, she could pick that up. And it comes back to where our focus is, our energy flows. Now, I will say this again in a moment, but I'm going to say it here now. I don't say that when I came home from work, I just put everything aside and sat down with her for hours and played. It wasn't like that at all. But it was simply me allowing myself to go, yep, I'm going to sit down and really focus on my daughter and playing what she wanted to play and really involve myself in that situation. And it really had made a big difference, and I believe it still does now. Right now, being at home and seeing your family members day in, day out, quite possibly they're the only people that you're seeing, maybe, if you're lucky enough to go into work, or you obviously may be seeing others. Yeah, Katrina, I agree with you. The most important person is the one with the deepest need. And I guess that's where we're understanding our focus and really being present with the other person. Where your energy focus goes, your energy flows. So it's really important that we choose to be fully present when we're interacting with people. I can understand that if you're by yourself and I'm saying to you, question who's the most important person, oh, it's me, that could be seen as being quite selfish. It can, for some people, it can be quite challenging, because for some people it will be, oh, I should be doing something else. Oh, why am I should be helping someone else. But if you have the moment, if you're in the moment questioning what matters most and you're by yourself, what matters most is you and what you're doing for yourself. You need to respect who you are. You need to respect what you need to be doing. And if you are by yourself and what you need to be doing is whatever that is, reading a book, going for a walk, having a nap, whatever it is, then we need to be grateful for that and choose to focus our energy in that moment. Me, if I'm talking about me and other people, it's really important that I'm fully with someone else, or if I'm with a group of people, then everyone in that room, if you like, is the most important people. Now, this environment with this Facebook Live is really quite unusual, but you are, whoever's out there, whoever's listening, you are the most important people, along with myself at the moment. And I'll come to why in a bit more detail in a moment. I'm not suggesting that when you're with someone else, their needs take precedent over yours. And Katrina, if I go back to your comment, the most important person is the one with the deepest need. It could be, but it could also be yourself. You know, you may be interacting with someone else and recognize that you actually need, you need something from them. And it may be just a listening ear. But it's also the other way as well. I may be with you and I may notice that, oh, hang on a minute, something doesn't seem really right there. I really need to really focus on this person because now's the most important time. I'm with this person. I've got to give them my full attention, the focus. I was listening to a podcast the other day and the presenter was saying that she's probably known as the crazy lady at the moment because she's at home like we all are. She's working from home, and aside from her family members, she's not really seeing many other people. And so if she's out the front of her house and someone walks by, she's actually calling out and saying hello to them. And yes, she knows that she's probably crazy, but she's thinking, I'm important here, but I'm also recognizing you walking past my house. And at that moment, we are the most important people. And it just made me smile because it made me think that right now, when we're also isolated, that person walking down the street, that could be the only person they see all day. And if someone takes the time to, call out and say hello, I just think that that connection, that interaction could make a huge difference in that person's day. At the moment for myself, I'm actually, as I said to you before, walking the dog quite a bit. When I'm out walking the dog, I am making a point of obviously keeping my distance, but I'm also making a point of smiling and saying hello to people because, again, I might be the only person that that person may see for the day. And aside from my family members, that might be the only person I see for today. And so I'm really trying to honour this, who's the most important person, whoever I'm interacting with in that moment. Let me take you to my third question. So we've had what's the most important time, and we've had who's the most important person. So my third question now is, what is the most important thing to be doing? Now, right now, the most important thing to be doing could be surviving, being in your house for another day. And believe me, I hear you. It's not that I don't want to be at home. I love being at home. Yeah, true, Katrina. Lord, what is crazy these days? Right now, I do want to leave the house. I want to get out and go where I want to go when I want to go, but I know that I can't do that. Absolutely, Carol, a smile could make all the difference in someone's day. Absolutely. The most important thing to be doing is whatever you need to be doing in that moment. So I've said to you what is the most important time, and right now is the most important time. I said to you who is the most important person, and I said that's either you or whoever you're with in that moment. And now I'm saying to you what's the most important thing to be doing. And what the most important thing to be doing is whatever you need to be doing in that moment. Dare I say, yeah, absolutely, Katrina, connection is so important. Priya, hi, thanks so much for joining in. Right now, the most important thing to be doing is sitting here listening to me. And I don't say that because I think I'm that important. I don't think that at all. But if you've chosen to be here and you've chosen in this moment for this to be the thing that you're doing, then you need to focus and put all your energy into this, because then you will take away from it the most that you possibly can. If you choose that this could be the most important thing, maybe not, you'll change your mind, you flip and flop, then you'll walk away going, well, that was a complete waste of my time. Why did I bother tuning in? So the most important thing to be doing is whatever it is that you need to be doing in that moment. if I follow on from that last story, so for people that know me, of course, you'll know that if I keep sharing stories about my daughter, she won't be happy with me. So let's just keep it between us. But my daughter is now 15, so she's a lovely teenager. When I chose to play with her when she was a toddler, yeah, what do I need right now? Katrina, I agree. What do I need right now? When I chose to sit and play with my daughter, that was the most important thing I chose to do. Now, again, I'm not suggesting this is open slather, so I just sat and played with her all day. I'm not saying that at all. But if I said to her back then, okay, yep, honey, we've got 10 or 15 minutes, absolutely, we can sit down and play, then I actually fully engrossed myself in whatever we were playing. That could have been Lego, could have been anything. And what it allowed me to do was I actually enjoyed myself. Fancy that. I absolutely enjoyed myself, and I could tell that she was actually enjoying it too. And it was interesting, something that Julian shared again the other day in his presentation was to master the self-talk. And absolutely that rung true for me as well, because my self-talk at that stage was, I don't want to sit down and play when I come home from work. I've had enough. I don't want to do that. So that was going on and on in my head. So of course I wasn't actually fully focused on what I wanted to be doing, because that was playing in my head. So mastering the self-talk to me was actually about turning it off and actually prompting myself to go, no, I'm in this moment and I'm going to sit here. Me and my daughter at that moment were the most important people, and whatever we were doing was the most important thing to be doing. And I actually enjoyed it. So I continue to try and practice this now with my daughter. As a teenager, obviously we don't sit down and play Lego, we don't sit down and play with her teddy bears. However, teenagers especially will know if you're not fully focused and not fully present with them. They will know. And you know, for those of us that have teenagers, we know that if we haven't got teenagers on side when we're interacting with them, then we've got no hope. So I choose to continue to practice. If I'm with her, then whatever we're doing, I try and focus my energy, focus my time, my energy with her. And I think it brings great benefit. So what's the most important thing to be doing? Right now, the most important thing to be doing could be quite mundane, could be quite repetitive. We're getting up, doing the same things day in, day out. Chances are in our house all day, every day. So it can be quite mundane. However, these are some things that I want you to think about. If you at the moment, in a particular moment in the day, you question yourself, hang on a minute, what matters most? And in that moment, you're going to exercise, then fully focus and commit to yourself to exercise. You know, listen to what your body's telling you as you're exercising. Yes, it might hurt, but listen and focus your energy into doing what you're doing. If you're going for a walk, be fully focused on going for a walk. As you walk around, take in the scenery. As I said before, take a look as people are walking past you. Say hello and smile to them. Absolutely, Katrina. Teens can call a fake from a mile away. Absolutely. Hi, Ali. Thanks so much for joining me. I've loved your presentation, so thank you for joining me. Yeah, true. Sometimes teenagers don't even know that they need a connection. That's right. And yes, I can understand with 6 you've learnt that along the way. Yes, Michelle, I agree. So true about teenagers. It's important to take the time with them. Absolutely. So yeah, if you're going for a walk, if that's the thing that you need to be doing, then fully give yourself to that walk. If you're working from home at the moment and you're, on Zoom calls, in meetings, video meetings, then fully focus in that meeting time on what it is that you need to be doing. Now, I understand that could be difficult with having kids at home that are remote learning. And maybe that's where, if possible, that's where some boundaries may need to be put in place. Coming back to, okay, for the next 30 minutes, I have to be in this meeting. Okay. We've seen plenty of photos around at the moment with, parents having meetings at home with kids on their lap and climbing on the back of them and all of that. So I understand that what matters most, and that whatever the thing that you're doing in the moment is the most important thing, is really challenging at this time. Okay. And to be honest, give yourself a break. If in the moment you've got kids running around and you can't really concentrate on what you're doing, it's not the end of the world. Okay. Give yourself a break. But when you can refocus and question what matters most, then please do that. Please do that. If you're working from home, and even, to be honest, even if you're not and you're still coming home from work, then choose to clock off. And I'm sorry, I can't remember if someone's watching and it was you. I'm sorry if I can't remember your name, but I was watching a presentation the other day and they were saying about coming home from work and getting changed. Ali, it could have actually been you, getting changed out of your work clothes and, perhaps straight into pajamas, because that helps transfer you from that work environment to the home environment. And I so agree with that. And I think it's so important. When you've come home, or when you're working from home and you've stopped working, then whatever you do, whatever needs to happen in that next moment, that is the most important thing to be doing. So if it is interacting with children to talk about what they've done for the day and how their day was, then fully give yourself to that. Okay. Great. Thanks, Ellie. Fully give yourself to sitting with your kids, or not even sitting, but just, talking with them and listening, fully focused on what they're telling you about how their day was. If it's talking to a partner and hearing what their day was, or sharing your own day, then fully give yourself to that. Thanks, Ali. Yes, it was the third space. That's right. So I guess what I'm trying to do is break up. Yes, definitely, Michelle. We need to be kind to ourselves during remote learning. I ran a live session today with my son beside me and people loved it. Yep, we are getting more accepting. Absolutely, we're getting more accepting. Who would have thought when all this started? I, for one, know that if I was ever having a meeting at home, particularly, again, when my daughter was a toddler, I was like, okay, you need to be quiet, I can't be interrupted. And that's not that long ago, whereas now it's all the norm that if you've got children in the background or animal pets or something, it's all good, don't worry about it. So I think it's just we are getting more accepting of it. So let's come back to that question. I said to you at the start that I asked you what matters most. And I said that's a big question and we're not going to cover it in one session. But I've now asked you 3 other questions, which I think can help question or help us understand what matters most, and it helps us live every single day. What's the most important time? Who's the most important person? And what's the most important thing to be doing? They were the 3 questions. I'd love to, for anyone that's listening who hasn't asked me or put up a comment on the side here, if anyone's got any more thoughts that they want to share, feel free. I'd love to hear what you're thinking about those 3 questions. What's the most important time? Who's the most important person? What's the most important thing to be doing? I think these 3 questions are really, really important for right now. Okay, as I said to you at the start, when this first came, all the restrictions came in place for coronavirus, I really stressed out about things. But as soon as I came back to hang on a minute, what matters most? What's the most important time? It really, I guess, jolted me back into the present. And so that's how I think these 3 questions you can be using every day now. You don't need to be asking yourself all of the 3 questions. It may be just a matter of, okay, what matters most today? And that might jog you and go, okay, yep, I'm going to focus my energy on this is what I need to be doing right now. Or this is who I need to be interacting with, and I'm going to focus my energy on that right now. Okay. However, I think these 3 questions are also important to take from today, looking into the future. And yes, I've said right now is the most important time. But as we start looking at the new normal, whatever the new normal is going to be. And hey, look, if anyone's listening and they've got some idea of what the new normal is going to be, please let me know, because I'd love to know. As you know, I said I was a planner. But as we go into the new normal, I think we also need to stop and ask ourselves, what's the most important time? Who's the most important person, and what's the most important thing to be doing? Yeah, thanks, Michelle. The questions are very centering, definitely. They really bring me back to the right here, right now. Okay. So I think if we can concentrate and really just be kind to ourselves and questioning, hang on a minute, for me, I'm the type of person that lots of thoughts will go through my head, and I could easily go down a rabbit hole with worry about what's going to happen tomorrow and next week and next month. Easily I can do that, and then if I add some self-talk in there about, oh God, this is a disaster, how are we ever going to get out of this, I'm not really sure, then it can be quite debilitating. So for me, being able to say, okay, Sharon, what matters most? What's the most important thing I need to do today? It really brings me back to focusing on what that is. I want to read to you part of a post that I received today, and it's by Shari Harley. Shari Harley is a organisational expert, communication in the workplace, based in the US, I believe. And it was really interesting. Her post was titled, "Be Happier and More Calm, Stay in the Moment." And again, it really resonated with exactly what I'm talking about to you tonight. So just take a listen. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but if you can just bear with me a moment while I read this to you. My 4-year-old son and I have been at home alone together for 7 weeks. No friends, no family, no childcare, just us. Some days are amazing, others are exasperating. The good days are when I'm focused and I'm not swimming in a sea of what-if distractions. The bad days are when I'm filled with fear and worry. Some days I'm consumed with the concern about the future. When will I be able to do this? When will I be able to go there? When should I do this? Will I be able to do that? What will this look like? When will it be safe too? Intellectually, I know that the only way to be happy, regardless of the circumstances, is to be present. There is nothing to compare to the present. When we live in the present, there is no past and no future. There is only now. Nothing can be wrong with now because there is nothing to compare the current time and experience to. And I just love that sentence. I'm going to read it to you again. Nothing can be wrong with now because there is nothing to compare the current time and experience to. I want to enjoy this precious time with my little boy. We'll never have time like this again, just us. And it's quite funny because for me, early on, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be crazy. We're stuck at home. We can't go anywhere. We can't see anyone. But it's interesting, if you listen to that, when we'll never have time like this again. I can't do anything about when it will be safe to travel. I can look into my child's precious eyes and remember that my job is to be here for him today. I just thought that was it was really relevant. It was just funny that it popped up in my feed this morning, and I just thought it was really relevant to what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. So here we are back at that question I said I would say to you at the end. What matters most? I'm hopeful that, yes, you might be saying, I know what matters most. It's my family, it's my friends, it's my health. Right now, it could be your job and getting money to be able to feed your family. I completely understand. What I've asked in my presentation tonight, or not even what I've asked, I hope I've given you tonight is 3 other ways that you can look at what matters most. What's the most important time? Who's the most important person? And what's the most important thing to be doing? Thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been quite an unusual experience. Thank you for everyone that has made comments as I've been talking. I hope you found it valuable, and I will certainly go through and respond to any comments and questions people have shared with me. Please get involved, join in the Happiness Aid Facebook page. There's so many other presenters on there which have all been so interesting, so valuable. I've really enjoyed them. So if you have time, feel free to jump on and have a look at that. Thank you so much for being here. I'm truly grateful to you listening to me, and please take care and keep well. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night. Bye for now.